I'm Cheryl Campbell, and I'm here today with my good friend, Mary Hardson. And today's quote of the week is from Aristotle. It's, "You will never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind next to honor." So, Marian, hi, honey. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. That's a
What do you think
great
about what do you think about that one?
that's a great quote. And the reason why, we've spent a couple weeks talking about, getting centered and getting quiet and, opening up our heart to what we truly want so we can live more fulfilled and happy. But what do you do with that? It's still having the courage to bring that forth from within us to the world, because that's really what we're meant to be doing, right?
Right. And when I was thinking about the whole courage topic and everything too, it's on so many more levels than you even imagine, because besides having the courage to step out into the world and everything else, just even in your own little space, of trying to make things better for yourself and for your family, if you don't have the courage to step up and change things, then there is no change. It
Right.
really everything good in life really does begin with us having the courage to change something that we recognize as something that we don't, want to continue, things to continue that way. So it really does all start with courage. I think in another episode, we also talked a little bit about stepping out of your comfort zone and, to improve things in your life. And if you don't have that's courage based.
That is courage.
Yeah. I think this is something that we probably should discuss a little bit, maybe not all today, because I think it could be kind of a large topic.
Well, there's a lot around that because, we've been in our little box for well over a year.
Yeah.
Right? We've been in our little box long beyond that for whatever limiting beliefs have held us back in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then that pandemic box, I don't even like to use that word anymore. I just want to be past it. But,
Right.
that COVID box
Right.
has held some of those things back. What I've appreciated about that time is that we've had that time to reflect and to find out what really matters to us. But then we still have to step outside of that. Some of us have been in a safe zone and, it's gotten a little comfortable. And
Yeah, and just a little uncomfortable over here with the way that my chair is sitting. So excuse the little bit of reshuffling. Yeah, the whole COVID time on the reflection and everything too. I know that, at least from what I saw from the people that I were dealing with in my own little world, there was a lot of fear going on, and not just reflection and moving forward, but a lot of lack of courage, which I don't really want to say lack of courage, because I don't know if people realize how much, when they're stuck in fear of something, that you really do need to pull that courage out. I mean, it's kind of like this fine little thing. It's like, I don't want to insult you and say you coward, because it's not about that. It's about recognizing the fact that so many of the things that we do in our life are, when we're not moving forward, are fear-based. Even procrastination is fear-based. You're procrastinating because there's something that you don't want to do. And very often when you don't want to do something, it's because there is some type of fear connected to that. And with COVID and everything, especially, so many people did a lot of things that were completely fear-based. And it is time to step away from that. It's time to create the change and the contemplation and move forward with making each of one of us a better person for ourselves, and therefore for our families and everybody else. I don't know, did I just get a little too weird there on the way that I was thinking about that? But it's like, I just feel like it's all so connected.
Well, it is all connected, and there's such a fine line. We did live fear-based because some of that fear was real. There was a real um, virus. There was a real, something that can kill a lot of people, can make a lot of people sick. So that
Can I interrupt for 1 second though? Because even fear-based, yes, on what you just said, because it was something real. COVID is something real. But there's a difference between acting in fear and acting with well-educated and well-known information. And so there's responsible behavior because there's a real threat out there. But then there's acting in fear, which a lot of times doesn't make you act rationally. It makes you act irrationally. So there's a little bit of a distinction there, I think.
right, but through all that, the quote for this week is about courage. So either
Right.
of those, we have to give ourselves credit for the courage to live through this and to make the decisions that we had to get through this.
Hmm.
That took a lot of courage. And now the next step is the courage to continue our dreams
Hmm.
beyond what we had to experience, which, yes, took a lot of courage.
Hmm.
So, like you said, I think there are a lot of different avenues and different aspects of this, all around courage that we can kind of take through other conversations because
Yeah.
these are little snippets of thoughts and conversations that we're trying to do, which I love that we're
Right.
doing this. Yeah.
It's always interesting the way that they go off on these little tangents, but they go off on these little tangents because it's like a little spider web that things are so connected. And the more that I think about this, you're right. It is definitely a conversation that needs to be continued because when you really do sit back and look at it, and anything that stops us in our tracks from moving forward for our own betterment is because whether we realize it on a conscious level or a subconscious level, it's because we're afraid of something. It's, a fear to be heard, or there's so many different levels of it that it could be. And each step of that takes an acknowledgement so that you can step into your courage to get past that.
Right.
So there are so many different levels of it. I think that we should definitely continue this conversation and maybe zero in on a specific little part of it next time. So let's put our minds to it over the next week to see what would be the most beneficial thing to talk about. And I may put that on you because you're so good picking up on these little nuances of things and
Well, thank you.
and so yeah, I think maybe we should do that. And in the meantime, do we have like any one particular tip to give somebody about recognizing their fear in something and maybe, what it would take to take that first tiny little step to get past it, that little tiny bit of courage to take that first baby step?
Well, for one thing that came up as we were talking about fear, and one thing to kind of leave everyone with before we get into these conversations, is that we should lighten up on ourselves a little bit because, number one, look what we've been through and really acknowledge
Yeah.
the strength and the courage that it took. But also know that our minds always want to keep us, it's like a thermostat. It wants to keep us in the safe zone
Right.
so that we don't venture out. And part of that was the generations before us who
Yeah.
always said, oh, that's too scary, or why do you want to do that? Or,
Right.
and those are some of those thoughts. And how many thoughts do we have in a day? 70,000,
Yeah.
80,000.
A ridiculous amount.
And something like, what, 2/3 or 3/4 of those are usually negative
Right. And cautionary. I mean,
and cautionary.
yeah, they are. I mean, from the time, I mean, I'm sure we all did it to our kids, to protect them. It's like, don't do that. You'll get hurt, or, get away from that electrical plug. You can, it's so from a very young age, is my point, is that we're bombarded with the be safe, be safe, be safe. And so it's our natural inclination, evolutionary wise too. It's how the species survived, was by being cautious, But there are so many things that we could step out of our comfort zone on, step away from that fear-based holding you back. And probably the first realization is that we shouldn't let fear stop us, because fear is what stops us from being as happy as we can be, and as fulfilled as
Right.
we can be. So you do have to get over that, show a little courage, and always be kind to yourself, though, as you said, because that's super, super important. I don't think we cut ourselves enough slack sometimes.
Right.
We're our worst own critics. And, but yeah, I would like to continue this conversation.
And we shall.
Good, good. So do you have anything else that you want to share before we say goodbye for this week, and put some more thought into this on how we could discuss this topic a little bit more for, different specific areas for next week?
Well, as what you and I do so well is how we bounce ideas and things off of each other. So I loved your Aristotle quote, and that just sparked, which is going to be part of, like you said, what are some of our next conversations are, is to get past that fear of, knocking on the door of what we want. And so we'll kind of, maybe I'll leave with this forwarding quote. And why don't you read the Aristotle quote one more time, because that was so perfect for what led us into our conversation today.
Okay, I'm just going to pull it up over here. The quote said, "You will never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind, next to honor."
And then when we get into our heart, which is following our bliss, how do we move forward and use that courage and just really live a fulfilled life? It's a quote by Joseph Campbell that says, follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls.
I like that.
So when we just, recognize the walls, which takes courage.
It does.
That's really going to lead us into really that fulfilled, blissful life, which is what we're meant to do.
What it is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So until we meet again.
That's right.
Many blessings to everybody. And as always, just see us on our Facebook pages if you want more information. I'm at Cheryl T. Campbell, and Marian is at Step Into Happy. And we shall see you next week to continue the conversation on courage. All right. Beautiful. Bye-bye for now, everybody.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.